Good day, my fellow history enthusiasts. Today we will discuss about the Philippines century hands and other related essays. But before we start our discussion, let me ask you a question. Do you believe that the writings of Rizal were able to awaken the Filipino patriotism? Siguro inyong answer pod no kay yes. Kaya diba naka-highlight man sa No Limitangere and El Filibusterismo the injustices and abuses under the Spanish colonial rule. But dili lang kato ang gina-highlight ni Rizal no sa iyahang two novels which are the No Limitangere and El Filibusterismo, but iyahang gina-fight or iyahang gina-realize ang mga Filipinos and natives nga mo stand or mo fight no against the Spaniards or the Spanish nga kailangan naay independence sa to ang country or naay reform under the Spanish colonization. Jose Rizal's Filipinas dentro de 100 años, or translated as The Philippines Within 100 Years or The Philippines a Century Hence. This was serialized on September 30, October 31, and December 15, 1889 and February 15, 1890. So, kaning nga essay is also published on La Solidaridad nga newspaper, which is gonna estimate ni Rizal of what would be the country's future within or after 100 years. And this is also supplemented by the two novels, No Limitangere and El Filibusterismo. Mauni ang content, no? Ang pag-vision ni Rizal of what will be the country's future kung naapata sa kamot sa mga Spaniards. And also, ang iyang mga predictions nag-respond sa questions nga unsay sitwasyon sa Philippines within 100 years. Sa ako pabaghihapon ta sa mga kamot sa mga Spaniards, dependent pa baghihapon ta sa ilaha or colonized na ta sa lain nga country. Kaya ang thought mago ni Rizal no sa pagsulat niya ni nga essay is kung under gihapon ng Filipino sa Spanish rule, magpadayon ang sufferings, ang abuses, ang injustices. Ngunang pinaagi sa iyang pagsulat sa mga novels, sa mga iyang writings, no, sa iyang other essays kay gusto niya ba nga iparealize sa mga Filipinos ang mga abuses nga ginahimo sa mga Spaniards nga ma-awaken ilang hearts ug minds nga kailangan nila mo stand sa ilang rights nga makarealize sila ba nga wait lang murag dili na jud tama ang kaning mga ang treatment ninyo sa mga Filipinos no ngayong ani lang may kababa sa inyong pananaw. Munang sa una na ay nahitabo nga revolution kina-realize na pud sa mga Filipinos ba nga abusive na jud ang mga Spaniards. Causes of sufferings and deterioration. So sa first part sa essay ni Rizal is naghatag og overview sa kung unsa ang mga rason sa suffering sa mga Filipinos. And one of the causes nga iyahang na-mention was the Spain's implementation of her military policies. So sa una, napugos ang mga Filipinos, particularly ang mga kalalakihan nga moapil sa hukbong militar or Spanish Army. So, syempre, sa war, makaltasan man dyan na sila no kay kuan na ay mamatay. So, eventually, makaltasan ang population. So, kay underman sa Spanish Army ang mga kalalakihan, mabiyaan nila ang ilahang pamilya. And mabiyaan po nila also ang katong ilahang basakan nga ilang trabahuan dapat para sa ilahang source sa ilahang pagkaon. Second, is the deterioration and disappearance of Filipino indigenous culture. Kaya diba sa una ang mga early Filipinos na nasa their own culture, but sadly, na-implement na ang Spanish culture. Even ang language and ang structure sa balay no, nga nanay sala, nanay mga palamuti, and ang early living sa mga Filipinos kay nagkaanam-anam na og kawala or nawala na jud. And up until now, no, nakuha gihapon nato ang Spanish culture which is ang kaning gwapa o gwapo kay dili man na sa tuwa nag-origin, dili man na sa Philippines nag-origin. And even sa mga surnames like Gomez, De La Cruz, Torres, kay kung nakahinumdum mo si Governor General Narciso Claveria, nag-implement siya dati og policy nga dapat na ay surname. Kaya sa una ang mga natives wala sila yung mga apelyado. Third is the passivity and submissiveness to the Spanish colonizers. So di ba kay sa una man no kanang under mo dyan sa Spanish ang mga Filipinos, mahadlok mo voice out ang mga Filipinos sa ilang grievances, sa mga kalakaran sa government, ilabi na sa economy, kay mahadlok sila nga pasakitan sila sa Spaniards, ipakulong sila, and worst is ipapatay sila. So pinaagi aning writings ni Rizal sa iyang novels no kay gusto niya ba nga ipa-realize sa mga Filipinos no nga ang mga mistreatment, ang mga injustices, ang mga abuses na ginahimo sa mga Spaniards among the Filipinos. So giunsa man pag-realize sa mga Filipinos nga under di ay sila sa Spanish rule. It is through racial discrimination. Kaya na-realize nila ba na awakened na sila nga wait lang, murag dili na jud ni tama inyong gipangbuhat sa amo ano. Grabe na jud nga mistreatment and daghan na jud nga mga abuse nga amo ang natamo. Mo to nakipaglaban sila dati no through revolution, but sadly wala sila nadaog kay tungod po sa geography sa Philippines kay lahi-lahi nga mga tao ang gusto manggod mo mulaban sa mga Spaniards, and imbis ma-unite ang ilahang decision or ilahang kanang ang ilahang plano is wala nila na nabuhat kay tungod kusgan pod ang mga Spaniards ang kanang naa sa government.
Good day everyone, I am Sarinjel M. Libradilia. So in continuation of this report, so this part is all about the inevitable. So the main topics that tackled by Rizal in his essay is whether the Spain could indeed prevent the looming progress of the Philippines despite of the corruption, deterioration brought by the colonizers in the Philippines. Rizal really hoping that the progress and the improvement of the Philippines could not be hindered. For this topic, Rizal came up or made a points. There are 3 points. The following are: keeping the people uneducated and ignorant failed. Keeping the people impoverished also came to no avail. And the last one is exterminating the people as an alternative to hindering progress did not work either. Kay tungod ang Espanyol nagtuo sila nga inevitable sila, or meaning ana is untouchable, dili sila basta-basta matarog, sila ang pinaka-superior but dili. Rizal explain kung ano. So mao ni siya ang 3 points. So first is nagtuo ang mga Espanyol nga og dili pa eskwelahon, dili hatag og education, og ikip nila ang pagka-ignorante sa mga Filipino is mapasunod nila, which is dili. Kaya ang mind sa mga great Filipino is very broad, and makita jud sila og paraan para i-fight ang ilahang right and ma-stop ang pagmaltrato sa ilaha. The second one is katong keeping the people impoverished also came to no avail. Nagtuo ang mga Espanyol nga bisan og ilaha pang palisod-lisodon og taman ang mga Filipino is mo ilahang way nga mapasunod or prevent ang pag-improve sa Philippines, which is not. Kay tungod sa ilang mga binuhatan is makarealize ang mga Filipino nga mali naman ni ang mga kaning mga gipangbuhat sa tua or mga gipabuhat sa tua ang pagpalisod sa tua. So mao ang balimuag way or rason nga makahunaw na ang mga Filipino nga we need to stop it and we need to not tolerate it, or maka-desire ang mga Filipino nga we need a change. And also tungod pod sa ilang mga binuhatan sa mga Filipino, pagpahirap sa mga Filipino, mo pod ang rason nga alsa og rebellion ang mga Filipino. And the third one is ang pag-exterminate sa mga Filipino. Tuo pod ang mga Espanyol nga kaning ang pag-exterminate sa people kay mao pod ang alternative para mapugan ang pag-progress sa Philippines, which is not. Kay amid sa war, tagutom o daghan nga mga kagubot nakasurvive ang mga tao. Amidst wars and tagutom became even more numerous bisan pa man sa after sa mga disasters nga pagpanghitabo. To wipe out the nation altogether requires the sacrifice of thousands of Spanish soldiers, which is something na dili jud itugot sa mga Spanish. So that Rizal concluded that the Spaniards had no means to prevent the progress of the Philippines. So ang need buhaton sa mga colonizers is to change the policies and the policies of the colonial nga to change to something na in favor siya sa Filipino or suitable siya sa mga pangangailangan sa mga Filipino. So on this part, this is all about how Spain made a ways in order for them to prevent the progress of the Philippines, but suddenly they are not successful on it. Wala nag-work and failed sila. Kumbaga, ang naghatag orzon nga magka-realize ang mga Filipino nga mag-alsa og rebellion. So in short, mura sila og na bitag sa ilahang kaugalingon nga litag. So mo na siya ang all about diri nga part. Mo to nga nag-conclude si Rizal nga ang Spain has no means to prevent the progress of the Philippines and the colonies, and what the colonists really need to do is to change their colonial policies that is suitable to the Filipino or the needs of the society, pangangailangan sa mga Filipino, and to increase the nationalism of the people. So let's proceed now to the Rizal's prophecies. So Rizal expressed on his essay how confident he is on his prediction that there will be something would awaken the hearts and open the minds of the Filipino as regards on their difficulties and experiences. Eventually, the native recognized that the harassment and the cruelty of these colonizers will be no longer tolerated. Bisan pa og kanang nakulang sila sa mga arms and kulang sila sa trainees, na sila encouragement nga mag-carry og wars against sa mga colonizers. And also, even sa not so predictable elements of Rizal's prophecies is actual. So in 1898 exactly, American fight with the Spain to win the Philippines. So mao to ang Filipino people is nakahawas na sa Spain because of the American fight with Spain to win the Philippines. So although nakalaya na ta sa Spain, but we have a new colonizers. So the Filipino is colonized by the American. But the most important is aside sa nakalaya na ta sa Spain is nakakamit na ta og liberty and democracy. And so, 5 decades after Rizal's death, the Philippines gained and attained the most awaited and the prediction of Rizal's prophecies that the Philippines will achieve the liberation and kakamit og kalayaan or independence. And this was fulfilled on what results written on his essay, which is history does not record in its annals any lasting domination by one people over another of different races, of diverse usages and customs, of opposite and divergent ideas. One of the two had to yield and succumb. So which mean, according to my research, that such efforts at domination are ultimately futile in the long term because of the inherent differences in race, culture, and ideals between the colonizers and the colonized, which ang tanan daw mga pangpanghitabo nga pag-dominant sa atoa or sa Philippines is murag mahulog ra siya og walay kanang pulos kay tungod naatay nagkadaiyang mga culture, nagkadaiyang mga mithiin which is ang independence tali sa mga or against sa mga colonizers. And that's all about the Rizal's prophecies.
So, unsa di ay ang real name ni Fedor Jigor? So, Fedor Jigor, names Andreas Fedor Jigor, nga born na gipanganak atong November 30, 1816 ug namatay February 11, 1900. And also, Fedor Jigor is a German scientist traveler nga ni-visit diba sa Philippines atong 1859 to 1860. Ang iyang libro ga consist of the keen observation sa mga defects of Spanish colonialization and the prophecy that someday ang Spain would lose the Philippines and that America would come to succeed her as a colonizer. So, Rizal read much better Spanish versions while studied in Ateneo de Manila from a copy supplied by Pasiano Rizal Mercado, who directed his younger brother's political education and transferred to the Jose de Hopes, which had been blinded for himself by the execution of his beloved teacher si Father Burgos in the Cavite Allied insurrections. Now that Jigor prophecy furnishes explanation to Rizal's public life, his policy of preparing his countrymen for industrial and commercial competition seems to have had its inspiration in the reading done when he was a youth in years, but matured, in fact, through close contacts with tragic public events as well as with sensational private sorrows. So now, naanapuput sa Berlin. So, sa Berlin, Rizal meet Professor Jagor. So, the renowned geographer and his youthful but bright admirer became fast friends, often discussing of how the development of the events was bringing through fortunes to the Philippines. And also, the proper knowledge of the Philippines history and keen acquaintance with its situation enabled Jigor and Rizal, both trained observers, to foretell the country's future. But how did Rizal went to Berlin? So he spent his darkness winter in Berlin in 1886 due to financial difficulties brought on the lack of funds in Calamba. So, di ba kay makabunot nga he could only afford the meal a day, one meal a day, and Rizal traveled from, Paris to Berlin from 1885 to 1887 to further his studies in ophthalmology and other sciences. That's why naabot si Rizal sa Berlin. So, the essay relevance today, di ba? We all know that one way to correct or interpret many of Rizal writings is to consider the hint and his nalimitang hire. Di ba? Kay nag-ingon dito nga, I do not write for this generation, so I am writing for other ages. If this could read me, they would burn my books, my whole life work. On the other hand, the generations interpret these writings that will be educated. They will understand me and say, not all were asleep in a nightmare of our grandparents. So, indeed, this is a like the Philippines a century, hence as at relevant today as written over a century ago. As if talking today through the essay, Rizal was counseling us para lang sa tanan nga ma-view ba nga ma-view ug ma-shape ang ato ang sense sa ato ang national identity. Like, makahuna-huna ta ba na the essay relevance today, di ba we all know the one way to correct to interpret many of Rizal's writing is to consider the hint and his no limitang hire. It states there that I do not read for these generations, I am writing for other ages. If this could, read me, they would burn my books, my whole life work. On the other hand, the generation that interprets these writings will be educated, they will understand me and say, not all were asleep in the night time of our grandparents. So indeed, this essay, like the Philippine a century hence, are relevant today as written over a century ago. As if talking today through the essay, Rizal was counseling us para makafocus on strengthening the most important backbone of our community or our country, which is our values, ang outlooks na to, and all of the views that have shaped ug nagmugna as a senses of national identity as a, di ba? Ang essay moreover serves as reminds that we Filipino citizen are historically saluted and determined. Like, all those efforts by the colonizers to keep us uneducated and impoverished had failed, 100% failed. Though we can say that really nationalism eventually thrived and the country became independent after 4 centuries of tyrannical Spanish rule and 5 decades under the Americans.
Good day everyone, I am Drax Princess Amber and I will be tackling about the challenges to the Filipinos. Let's start on saying that we are now independent from all those colonies. But are we really free? Ang nag-rule sa to is ang oligarchy or like ang nag-rule sa country or institutions kay like small groups and mga elites. Yes, so we're talking about our economy. And to think that there are still disparities or unequal income in between the small favorite economic and political elites and the rest of the Filipino population, and it's giving or like saying that they favored someone or other groups or something na to gain from all those privileges na dapat na makuha sa like tanan equally. And we can relate this sa kanang gibutang or gisulat ni Jose Rizal sa El Filibusterismo na kanang why independence if the enslaved Filipino today becomes a tyrant of tomorrow. Because to think we may like it or not, our country is now prone to corruption and our country suffers from the same fate of slavery. Though we became slaves of the elites and corrupt politicians in our country or bisan the Spaniards, but karon to think that we are no longer slaves sa foreigners but to our own fellow countrymen. But this also reflects on our vision of our country. Attitudes also such as like the lack of appreciation of the significance of adhering the rule of law and upholding the high standards of excellence. Filipinos also tend to have a lack of self-discipline where they procrastinate, lack of precision and compulsiveness, poor time management, which results to lack of work ethics and leads to the pwede na or bahala na mentality or attitude, which is very different from what Rizal first see Filipinos as. The essay represents Filipino families also, and especially to the government, include instilling national discipline and genuine love of our country, exercising full control of national sovereignty, assisting citizens to connect with their families, employing available communications such as technologies man sa mobile, using also any other medias to join and inform or advocate and educate peoples who are what they say or label as ignorant, to at least avoid conflicts or spread only awareness on factual information to avoid ignorance and injustice. We also this also means that the legacy of Jose Rizal or the Philippines a century hence, which has the timeless national message of establishing a fairer, better society, requires reminding that the Filipinos that our hope for survival relies on each of us taking responsibility. This doesn't necessarily means lang na fault lang na ang at fault lang is those ignorant or what they call the ignorant people na they don't know anything about hopes or they lack of patriotism. It is also our responsibility and somewhat we are obliged to spread awareness sa atong fellow.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, or to whatever time you are watching this, hello sayo. I am Rina J. Sayon and I will be discussing the other related essays of Dr. Rizal. We all know that Dr. Rizal has two controversial books. Those were Noli Me Tangere and El Filibusterismo. But aside from those books, Dr. Rizal also had a lot of essays and articles nga sa kadaghan dili na nato kaya isa-isahon. But we will be discussing his other essays. The essays and writings of Dr. Rizal contributed so much to the patriotism and nationalism of the Filipino people during the Spanish colonization. It created much more understanding sa mga tao sa unang panahon, no? Because of those writings, kumbaga na realize sa mga tao kung unsa ang mga dapat nilang buhaton o kung unsa gyud pod sila during that time, no? Especially the Filipino people. If we were to really understand deeply the essays and other writings of Dr. Rizal, we will be able to further know the situation of the Filipino people during the Spanish colonization. Although daghan tag matunan sa Noli Me Tangere and El Filibusterismo, but murag additional infos kumbaga ang other essays and writings ni Dr. Rizal. That is why it's very crucial as well to learn such the writings of Dr. Rizal proves and showcases how Filipino people are during the Spanish colonization. And murag detalyado niya dito na iingon kung unsa ang mga kababaihan, kalalakihan, as well as the friars, the Spanish colonizer, in overall through his writings and essays. Dagan kay kag matun-an dito that is why it's very, very crucial to know one of those or some of those, diba? Now, we will be discussing some of his very brilliant nga mga writings, no? Although, most of his writings were brilliant, but these two writings nga, anaa kita karon kay mao kinyang pinaka-nitatak and kumbaga famous, no? For the Filipino people during the Spanish colonization. The first one is the sobre la indolencia de los Filipinos, or the indolence of the Filipinos, and the second one is to the young woman of the Malolos. The first essay of Dr. Rizal that we will about to discuss today will be reported by Trex Amper.
And now we will tackle the sobre la indolencia de los Filipinos. This essay is a response to the accusation that Filipinos were lazy and would rather gamble their money than work in the farm. It serves as a call to action for social reform and improvement of educational opportunities to empower Filipinos and dispel misconception about their character. This essay is a self-defense against the hatred and of the oppressors who condemn the Filipino as inert, unresponsive, and useless. In this essay, Filipinos are labeled as tamad or lazy, which Rizal condemns the oppressive policies of the Spanish colonial government, which includes forced labor and discriminatory practices, which he argues that this caused the spirit and discourage of Filipinos from striving for progress. I will be tackling about the 1 to 6 factors of this essay. First is the dispute of galleon trade. Galleon trade is the disputed existing trade connection with Asia and the Middle East, which had negative consequences for local businesses. Napabayaan na ang local businesses like crops kay prioritize naman ang mga traded products. Next is the forced labor. Spanish policies enforced forced labor in Filipinos for shipyards, roads, public projects. Kay mani siya ang time atong kanang Mindanao versus Muslims nga in which ang Filipinos ang nagatrabaho, and even though kanang sila nagatrabaho, they are obliged to pay taxes. Third is landlessness and displacement. Mani siya ang pag kanang na invade ang kanang land sa Filipinos na kung asa daghang mga natives nga napatay and na guba ang balay, nasunog nya wala sila gihatagan o kanang security and protection sa mga colonizers. And mo na isa ka reason nga nung ang mga Filipinos kay nawalaan naggana na mag-cultivate silang land o mag-rebuild silang industry. And then the fourth one is the colonial education. Ang colonial education that time kay ang ilahang gi-prioritize lang nga itudlo is ang prayers, repetitive prayers, and also walay kanang ang education nila is walay about agriculture, industry na kung asa kanang moto ang pinakakinahanglan sa mga Filipinos that time. Kay kanang limited lang ang kanang know or alam or siguro ignorant jud sila in terms of developing local industries. The fifth one is the negligence of Spanish officials. Mani siya ang kanang late na moabot ang mga ang mga colonizers at ang mga authorities nga kanang naay duty mga Spanish officials, and then sayo pod sila move out nya nagka-follow sila or sa mga servants, tapos ilang i-fund more ma-fund sila, and then magduog mga personal things nga lahang pambuhat. The sixth one is the promotion of gambling. Ni siya ang time na almost every day kay naay ka fights, tapos mga
mga feast kay ang mga government official of friars ang mga niuna og engage sa bets o gambles. Manish sila ang mga friars o ang Spanish authorities ang mga nag-promote. And so, dito lang ko ito ako report. But to sum it all up, those points were collectively illustrated na ako jud impact ang pag-rule or ang kanang pagmando sa mga Spanish or sa mga Spanish sa during that time, labaw na sa economic, social, and cultural na state sa Philippines that time.
I am back, and I will be continuing the two other remaining factors nag-point out ni Dr. Rizal sa iyang essay nga sobre la indulensya de los Filipinos. It was already discussed by Ms. Trex nga kini nga essay is all about Filipino being called no sa mga Spanish colonizer as tamad lagi daw. They are saying nga mga Filipino daw is very tamad. But through this essay, Dr. Rizal debunked that thought, that stereotyping from Spanish colonizers that Filipino people are actually not lazy. Before pa sa mga Spanish colonizer, before pa sa wala pa na colonize ang Philippines, Filipino people are very diligent, very hardworking sa ilang trabaho and very passionate sa ilang trabaho. And they also have their trading na smooth ang dagan sa Pilipinas during before the Spanish colonization. They were actually doing fine na, but because of the arrival of the Spanish colonizers, nagbago tanan. Nagbago pati ang pananaw sa mga Filipino sa ilang kaugalingon, sa ilang bayan, sa ilang pagkatao during the Spanish colonization na. And there are a lot of factors, and na-mention ito tanan, almost actually ni Ms. Trex, and now we will continue, we will continue the other factors na i-point out ni Rizal. Now, we have here Ika-7, the crooked system of religion discouraged the natives from working hard by teaching them that it was easier for the poor man to enter heaven. Dili gigamit sa mga friars, sa mga religious authorities nga ang word nasad, ang word nasad through misa ni Lord God, It is not a very good thing to do, but they used their power, their rule sa mga Filipino people. They manipulated the Filipino people nga ang mga dato lagi daw, ang mga dato kay mahulog nga maimpyerno. Wala mga pobre kay malangit. So ilang stereotype, ilang generalize tanan na if ikaw pobre ka, you will surely go to heaven. Why so? Because ilang ingon nga, if public ka, since luoy ka, ikaw ang pinaka gidaog-daog, ilangit ka sa Ginoo. Muna ginaingon nila. While if dato ka, nanag sa imong tanan, and ang dato usually ang pangdaog, sila ang impyerno. That is why, because of that, wala na nangandoy ang mga Filipino pa nga mag-progress. Wala na silang nangandoy nga magato. Wala silang nangandoy nga mas mulago ilang kaugalingon. Because of that thought nag-instill sa mga friars sa ilaha na if madato ka, maimpyerno ka. If di ka gusto maimpyerno, ayaw ka dato. Pundura ka anak. That is the thought, And because of that, wala, nagpundo na lang po ng mga Filipino for what they are. Gidawat nila nga, pobre sila, kay kabalo sila, pag mamatay sila, malangit man sad sila. And it's just so sad to think na mauna ang gi-instill sa mga friars sa una. Gihimo jud nila na ang mahimong tan-aw sa mga Filipino sa ilang kaugalingon kay inferior. Inferior sila, ani lang sila, mag-ingana lang dapat yun sila. That is why, mapod na ang mga reason nga nung dili pod mo laban yun ang mga Filipino sa mga friars, sa mga Spanish colonizers, kay na-instill na sa ila ba during that time ha. Imagine 333 years nung magikolonize ang Philippines. I-instill na sa ila ha kung halang sila kutob. Ngayon ani lang sila, maulang mo, wala lang mo. Pero iya na good. And sad to say, kay ginagamit nila ang religion para patuuhon ng mga Filipino, no? And yeah, that is the one of the factors why Filipino people are dili sila goal-oriented, dili sila mangandoy, dili sila gusto nga mudato, no? Nawag-an na sila og kanang kuan ba enthusiasm within them to progress because of that thought, because of the teachings from the Spanish colonizers, no, gi-instill sa ilaha. And lastly is the very high taxes were discouraging as a big part of the natives' earnings would only go to the officials and friars. Imagine ha, imagine you are really doing your best in working. Dapaningkamot ka dira, gibabad ka sa init, and just for your money nga mapadung sa tax. Ano good? Hey, murag ikaw po sino ko kalingon ma-discourage jud ka. Especially daghan kay tax na gi-create ang Spanish government during the Spanish colonization, di ba? Daghan kaayo na ay bandala, puro is servisyo, na ay sedula, tributo rather, na ay tributo, na ay so much more. Daghan kaayo sila mga tax nga gipangbuhat. And kato palang daan, hurot na imong kwarta, wala ni mapadong sa imuha. Wala ni balik sa imuha. Unsa na lang kaunon sa imuhang pamilya, di ba? And that is one of the main reason why discouraged na kaayo ang mga Filipino people to work hard. Okay, bisag ako, if it was me, like maglisod jud pod ko. I've been doing my best whole my life, and then inani lang, mawala niya akong madawatan. Wala balik sa akong pagpaningkamot pa. That would be very hard. Ako sa akong kunin maglisod ko. What more pa sa unang panahon, no? So we cannot really blame them why they feel na kanang discouraged and why they feel hopeless sa ilahang ang pagparabahon sa ilahang kinabuhi at that time, no? Iniwadaan man sila og kanang spirit, kumbaga, sa pagpanrabaho. Because that is the spirit of working, knowing na kay makuha nga benepisyo ana, but then wala. Okay, ang beneficios that supposedly na mahatag sa ilaha kay ginatanggal man dayon, ginakuha man Japon dayon sa ilaha. And also, imbis na, actually mga Filipino people, they are very ambitious. They want to build businesses, they want to cultivate land, but then sad to say, gitanggal na sa ilaha, no? Tanggalan sila karapatan. Sa yuta palang daan. Asa man nilang i-cultivate? Kung mag-cultivate po sila, kailangan po nila bayaran. Nga ang ilang bayaran, hastang dakuha. Wala na po yapoy balik sa ilaha, di ba? And yun na to sila masisi, those Filipino people during the Spanish colonization. Yun na to sila masisi why they feel lazy, why they feel very hopeless sa ilang ginabuhat. Kay, murag walay kapadulngan tanan, walay kapadulngan ilang kahabo, no? And murag it feels like an endless road wherein wala siya yung goal or dark lang ang imuhang pathway, and then wala kay kapadulngan, you don't know where to go, and you don't know asa padungpod ang dalan. It feels like that. And the earnings that supposedly na ilaha kay wala, zero, di ba? And we cannot ever doubt them. Kay it's very reasonable pod why they feel discouraged because of how they were treated by the Spanish colonizers during that era sa Philippines. And also, actually, in conclusion, no, if we were to think, laziness itself is the nature of a human. Dili lang na kay ang Pilipino lang ang tamad. Most of the people in the world tamad jud. It's just that it just happened nga ginatrato o mali ang mga Filipino people. Ginatanggalan silang karapatan, and also they are very hardworking. Filipino people are very hardworking. They are one of the most hardworking people in the world, no? daghan sa laing lugar, diba? Karon daghan kay sa laing lugar ang kapangitan ng mga Filipino workers because they know how hardworking Filipinos are. And it's just a proof, no? Karon we can prove, no, na tama si Rizal, na mga Filipino people are not lazy. They were just treated badly during the Spanish colonization, and they are as hardworking as others as well, no? And also, ang pinakadako na kanang reason po why Filipino people are tired or kanang kapwede sila nga magtrabaho, it is because of the scorching heat of the sun. Na halos patyo na pud ka habang gatrabaho ka dira, ano? Kanang kapuyan na lang ang mga Filipino na magtrabaho. Tapos, tungod ana, kay yun ako na dayon sila, gitanawon sila as tamad sa mga Spanish colonizers. No? It's just so unfair because they were actually not as lazy as the Spanish people thinks. They are just maltreated, and those were just the result, no? Those were just the result of how they were treated during the Spanish colonization. No, let's not think na in Rizal's essay, no, dito nag-mention na ang mga Filipino people are not naturally lazy. Maybe they're lazy, but not because they are naturally lazy, but because of the result, no? Mo siya cause and effect pa. Murag, epekto lang ang ilahang indulgence sa pagtrato sa mga Spanish colonizers sa ilaha. Diba? Murag, effect lang ba, resulta, kumbaga, sa kung giunsa sila pagtrato. That gitanggalan sila og hope, gitanggalan sila og purpose, gihimo silang inferior, na inani lang mo, maura na inyong kaya, so dapat inana lang ka. That's why, nagkakak na sa mga Filipino people, and nagpadayon siya until today, kaya naagihapon yun. Present siya kung mga Filipino people na very lazy and mas pilikon pa masugal kisa magtrabaho. No? The essay is telling us na those stereotyping na ginaingon sa mga Spanish colonizers sa tuwa sa una kay dili tinuod, no? That it just happen na naa sa mga maling kamay ang mga Filipino people, no? And maybe there's a reason behind of all of this, but let's just hope that someday the Philippines will be one of the developed country in the world, and Filipinos be known as very hardworking. Parang it's just a living proof, no? You yourself become a living proof na katong mga stereotyping na nahitabo sa una kay dito tinuod. No? It's just proof na mga Filipino people are not lazy. Most of them are very hardworking, and they're actually doing their best para sa ilang kaugalingon. To the second essay ni Dr. Rizal, to the young woman of Malolos, this is an essay that is originally written in Tagalog, and it was Rizal's response to Marcelo H. Pilar's request na magpadala si Rizal og letter towards the young woman of Malolos. And it was also a support ni Rizal towards those young women in Malolos. And sino nga ba itong mga young women of Malolos na gi-entitle ni Dr. Rizal sa iyang essay? These are the 20 young women of Malolos who in December 12, 1888 petitioned, no, towards the Governor General Valerino Weyler na they petitioned na magkaroon sila o kanang night school ba, because they really wanted, these 20 young women wanted to have a Spanish language na klase. So yeah, they petitioned and they told the Governor General about their will, and again it was opposed by a friar named Father Felipe Garcia. That is why wala nadayon tong request or petition atong 20 kabuok na young women, no, in Malolos. And actually they wanted to learn Spanish language under Teodoro Sandico. Yeah, they wanted to learn it under Teodoro Sandico. But then again, wala siya gisultan. And because of that action nagibuhat aning 20 young women of Malolos, Rizal was amused. No, he was amazed by the bravery and courage of those young women of Malolos. Because at first he wasn't really aware if Filipino women have this kind of bravery. If are those young women or the women in the Philippines really brave to aim or to have the will to for their rights, the will for their rights na in education. But yeah, upon knowing this na amused Rizal, and he realized that, well, this young woman proves that women as well have their own bravery in them. No, that is why he wrote this essay and support aning young woman. And yeah, these 20 young women, no, in Malolos, since diba I've mentioned earlier na wala na approve ang ilahang petition na magkaroon og night school sa Malolos during that time. They wanted to learn Spanish language because Spanish language during that time kay mao ang language in politics and in the society. They wanted to be fully aware on that. But yeah, they never surrendered, they never give up na kanang magkaroon sila og chance na maka-learn og Spanish language. That is why they really pursued until na nadayon na approve sila na magkaroon og ang klase sa Spanish language, but in some conditions. The first condition kay kinahanglan kanang magbayad sila og kanang kwarta sa pagtuon nila, or kumbaga kanang tuition kinahanglan magbayad. And also they wanted na kanang ang magtudlo sa ilaha is specifically si Señorita Guadalupe Reyes. No, sa ihapon sila magbayad. And then, instead of nighttime, ihimong daytime ang ilang klase. It only lasted 3 months. 3 months lang siya naglast kay it was because of the authorities pressure, the government authorities pressure sa ilaha. He says na these young women showed a ray of hope for a reform para sa mga kababaihan. For that, it was a very big step na for a woman. That's why this essay proves that not only Rizal has the heart for reform, the heart or the love for the country, but as well as the Filipino citizens, mapababae man o mapalalaki. Now, the first point na gi-mention ni Dr. Rizal sa iyang essay na letter for the young woman of Malolos is that the priest in the country at that time did not embody the true spirit of Christianity. It states here na ang mga priest, friars, or the religious authorities sa unang panahon didn't actually embody true spirit of Christianity. Wala din sila napakita o tinuod na kanang pagiging religious, kumbaga. Ang gibuhat nila instead is they use their privilege, their position, their power, and their role in the society to control the people around them. No? Diba dapat ang ilahang buhaton kay dapat mag-deliver og words of God, mag-conduct og mga misa, mag-give og support sa ato ang katawhan, mutabang. Instead, ang ilang gibuhat, they use their power. They use their privileges para mag-manipulate ng tao. That is what they did. No? They didn't actually embody the true spirit of Christianity. Wala sa ilahan na pa. No? But not all priests didn't embody the true spirit of Christianity. There are still priests, friars that time na really embodied and really wanted to deliver the words of God and really wanted to spread awareness and spread love of God. But still na aghapon itong mga tao na wala yun sa ilahang tinuod nga spirit of Christianity. No? Ilahan lang yung gigamit ang position. Kumbaga, gigamit lang nila ang ilahang stand sa society para makontrol ang katawhan. And also, we have here, the private judgment should be used. And also, this pertains na ang mga priest daw, they use their private judgment, their personal judgment to whoever they want to be judged. No, this was an example for this is the kumborsa. Gigamit nila ang ilahang posisyon kay para mahimong guilty, no, ang tungtulo ka pare. And sa nahitabo pod kang Rizal, also that is what happened there. Nakanamura gimanipula nila ba ang mga panghitabo in accordance sa ilahang in accordance sa ilahang ikabinipisyo, no? And they can do whatever judgment they want, no? If they want that this person become guilty, then that person is guilty, something like that, no? That is what the priest, the friars, the religious authorities during Spanish colonization were doing. Ginagamit nila ang ilahang posisyon kay para makakuha sila og kanang benepisyo gikan sa mga katawhan. The third one is mothers should be the epitome of an ideal woman who teaches her children to love God, country, and fellow man. Of all people in the society, mothers, especially mothers, are the ones to become that ideal or the role model to teach, no, their children, to doan ilang children, no, the real essence of loving God, the country, and the fellow man. I do believe na kini na point is gina-point ni Rizal in accordance sa iyang mother. Kis maon man na ang buhat sa iyang mama sa iyaha. Her mother actually showed, no, to him the real essence of loving God since si Dr. Rizal is very religious sa iyang kabatanunan. But it changed because of the maltreatment of the friars and the priest as he grew up, no? No, he also really loved the country that naa siya. He really loved his fellow man. It is because that is how nagipadpadako siya. Di na siya pagpadako sa iyang ginikanan, sa iyang inahan. You know? And that is why he is saying na mga ginikat, ang mga mother, they are the epitome or they are the symbol of as a teacher nga magtudlo sa iyang anak ug sakto ug paghigugma sa Ginoo, sa country, and as well as yung mga nakapalibot sa iyaha, no? In all people, mothers are the ones to teach their children. That is one of their very responsibility as a mother. So mo nang ginaingon ni Rizal that if a woman become a mother, mao na iyahang pagkabuhaton para sa iyang anak, no? And then next one is mothers should rear children in the service of the state and set standards of behavior for men around them. This says na ang mga kababaihan, they should have a stand wherein murag kanang tingalaon jud pud ba, they become the standards, no, para sa mga nakapalibot sa ilaha. They become a role model, again, a role model silang kabatinunan na sundan. Dapat nga sakto ang ato ang gobyerno, the rules, the policies, and also mothers should stand in the society wherein kanang with with respect kanang they become the standard, right? They become the standard for the people around them. Na kanang respetuon dyan sila ba because of what they're doing, because of what they are as a mother, something like that. And also, Filipino women must be noble, decent, dignified, and they should be submissive, tender, and loving to their respective husbands. Now, this states na muna ang mga traits that a Filipino woman must have in her, especially if may mo na siyang asawa pag-abot sa panahon. When I say submissive, nahal masunurin ka sa imuhang bana, no? Masunurin ka sa kung unsa man ang iyang mga gusto o sa kung unsa pud ang iyang mga dili, no? At some point, ato ang mga bana or sa ilang panahon sa una, kay mao man ang mag-earn of money. So they should just follow their husband, the steps of their husband, so that kanang walay gubot kumbaga na mahitabo. And also, Filipino women must be noble. As we can see sa salida na kanang Maria Clara, we can see there that a Filipino woman, okay, maganda sila silang paypay. Right? Like, they look very noble, they look very decent. And that is the very trait sa usa ka Filipina, no? Dili magsiga-siga. Okay, they are wearing Filipiniana. Filipiniana kay very, tanang decente kay tanang very social. But that is because ang mga Filipino woman kay inana, just like what they're wearing. They should be dignified. Dapat dili sila kanang mag-create noon og kagubot, dili sila mag-start og kagubot, magpabilin sila ang ilang dignidad no as a woman. Mapalanggaon kaayo sa ilang bana, yes, being loving, dili na pa ng yaw-yawera. Dahil dahil anak mo, nakana ang pagmahimo ng asawa kay yaw-yaw diri, yaw-yaw dito, kay tungod, ingana po lagi ilang bana. Well, naman po yung reason why a woman becomes like that, no? But much better, no? Despite of what your husband is, you be consistent sa imong sarili. Nga dili ka magsigig yaw-yaw. Pasag di siya. Pasag di siya. If that's what you want, go on. Pasag di siya. And just fulfill your role, then that's it. Yan na lang. As simple as that. That is what Rizal wants. Instead of becoming yaw-yawera, story ka istorya. And because of that, syempre, murag gubot kayong panimalay, no? Kung ang babae sa panimalay, daghan kay istorya, kan kay yaw-yaw. For me, personally, if I were to become a wife, maybe, may part na ako na mag-yaw-yaw yun. But, I'm the type of woman pod, no, na dili ko ganahan kayo sigig yaw-yaw. Maybe, mag-yaw-yaw ko, but not in a, like, loud, no, tingog. Hindi man yung mustrihan ng bana, in silent, like, or in a way na dili ganit kaayo, scandalous. Now, the last one is, young women must edify themselves, live the real Christian way with good morals, manners, and be intelligent in choosing a lifetime partner. There, I can really highlight, no, become intelligent in choosing a lifetime partner. Kasi, we cannot, as women, we cannot just pick, no, just because guwapo, no, nasibayin anak, just because ay, guwapo ni King Drita. No. No. Kaya tungod guwapo, hindi mo kakabalo kung sa iyahang character. No? Tungod kay guwapo, bugbugon ka. Asan nila kay guwapo man? Nagsuhay naman siya. Dito siya tayo anak karon, no? Actually, there are content in TikTok wherein gibugbog nagmaayo and everything, but then nagsorry daw. So, okay na, kaya nagsorry na. No. For me, no, personally, I cannot. No way. Sure. Because you should have your own manggod. You should have your own. Respeto on your food ka ba? Not only nga ka no. Ikaw lang respeto sa iya, tapos siya wala respeto sa inyo. Biyain na siya. No, you must know who to pick or who to love. No, you must kilatison jud nimo ba. Kay sa panahon nato karon, it seems like nakalimutan nato na essence. Murag nakalimutan nato nga kanang kilatison pa ang lalaki. For as long as ag-love ta, na go. You must still be open to some opportunities, no? Or to some realistic na mga character sa lalaki. And if you were to see na red flag siya, wala po ka nga, ay, flagpole man ko. Pero na kayo mga babae karon. Ingon nga, red flag ang lalaki. Ay, pole man ko, gawra ko ana. Uy, no way. No? Wag, don't be like that. You must know who to pick. Especially, the man should be intelligent. The man should be responsible. The man should be initiative. The man should be wise. Things like that. No? If wala, then go on. Ayaw pag-asama. Char. Then, if you think na mapakaon ka sa love, then go on. Char. But it all depends man dyan sa babae if who they want to be. Or to choose rather. But I prefer to na personal pagbuod. Charot. Yeah. It's very important na ka nang magpili ka kay panghabang buhay na siya, ti. Wala kay choice if Char. When we say young women must edify themselves, ginaingon niya na dapat ang kababaihan, they know how to teach themselves in a right way. Like, kanang i-instill nila silang kaugalingon na dapat kini ang sundon nila kay mao ang tama, kini ang buhaton nila kay mao ang sakto, something like that. They must also know what is right and what is wrong. Mo na gina-insist or ginaingon ni Dr. Rizal diri no? And also live the real Christian way with good morals and manners. This is na kanang a woman, a Filipino woman, must live the real Christian way. When you say real Christian way, mga mga sakto nga butang nga ginagawa nato in accordance sa atong religion or sa atong mga paniniwala, right? Kanang ginatudlo sa atua, sa simbahan, hindi ba? Kanang bawas-bawasan na mag-chismis, something like that. Or di kaya, kanang dili mangdaot, dili manglibak, things like that. No, in a Christian way, with morals, with manners, no? Kaya, if what is being taught sa tua, sa atuang simbahan, mo po na atong i-instill sa atuang kaugalingon. Dili kay, kanang paggawas nimo sa simbahan, tuan na, naglahi na po din mo ang karakter, kung baga, uy, sama ni, iba ni mo na sa sulod sa simbahan. We must have the real way of following, no, the religious beliefs, religious acts, no. And also, part dira ang kini, and to be intelligent in choosing a lifetime partner. Part dira we must date to marry, right? Naman din anak nga kanang thought, no, date to marry. In choosing our lifetime partner, it's very difficult. We wouldn't know if asa dadalaon ani ng relationship. We won't know if this relationship is right for us or wrong. But there are a lot of signs mga during the relationship. We will be able to know. It's just that it's up to you if magpabulag-bulagan ka, and it's up to you if imuhang i-ignore ang mga signs na anaa during the relationship. But yeah, part gihapon anak, no? In a question we were in, you are date to marry. You are dating this person because you want this person to be your lifetime partner. Nagdili lang siya pangdalian lang po. Uya, ba namin, wala naman na. No? Pero di ka seryoso ba sa imuhang relasyon sa tao? And if that's the case, maglisod yung kagsamot to meet the right person. Kay, if for you, kanang tao nga imong makaila kay pansamantala lang, then you wouldn't know kung kinsa ang pamatagalan. Right? And yeah, we must know, we must instill to ourselves, again, real essence of Christianity. Follow the words of God, become morally aware sa palibot, and to have manners to kanang marespeto lang jud ka sa nakapalibot sa imong haba. Although this actually doesn't mean na sa babae lang dapat ni. Actually, vice versa. Sa lalaki sad, if you're respecting them, you deserve respect as well. No? Something like that. But i-emphasize ni Rizal diri na ang kababaihan, especially mga kababaihan, they must have this. No? Kay, at the end of the day, kung unsa ang kababaihan, unsa ka as a woman, mao gyud na imong matudlo pud sa imong future na anak. No? Since women are the ones to rear the children, sila ang pinaka, if ang lalaki ang dominant sa economic na side, economic na part, like sila ang tigtrabaho, sila ang tig-cultivate and everything, ang babae po, sila ang dominant in terms sa pagpadako sa ilang anak, no? But, yeah, although it's not very, delge into that thought na dapat babae ang dapat lalaki ang kinaman tayo gender society wherein dapat pantay-pantay ang babae o lalaki. That is why I'm not saying na dapat babae lang, lalaki lang. Everyone can do and can rear their children right, but it's just that ang babae ang pinaka mag-alaga sa ilang anak. Yeah, that's the nature of human, and we cannot deny that. That's why if you are like that as a woman, mo ginapud ang imuhang mahatag sa imuhang anak, no? And if you were a good woman, if you were a morally characterized woman, you have the manners, then you'll be that will be part of your teachings sa imuhang anak. So, ay sad nang sulod kay di pa ka ready. Maybe charot. Sa imuhang anak, puhon ka ng puhon dyan. Lugay pa. Kaya para maka-travel pa ka. Yeah, something like that. No? And that is what Rizal in here. In conclusion, to the young woman of Malolos, or letter to the young woman of Malolos, ginaingon ni Rizal diri na ang mga kababaihan also have the power, the privileges, the kakayahan, the ability, no, to have their own way of teaching. Since sila jud ang pinaka into teaching jud. So through good morals, through the character of a woman, mo gid na ang mahatag pod sa kabatanunan ngan ilahang ma-encounter in life, no? He entitled this to the young woman of Malolos jud kay he was very amused, no, sa kababaihan na nag-show of bravery and courage, no, nga kanang i-fight yun ilahang karapatan as well in terms of education because they really want to learn, and that eagerness really touched Rizal, no. It really touched his ideals that women actually are like this. They are actually very brave as well. They actually are as strong as a man or something like that. And yeah, again, Rizal was very amused, and that is why this essay was written. And yeah, that is the end of our discussion, and that would be all, I guess. If you have questions and so much more, and etc., let's meet face to face. Ask me. Sure. Yeah, that would be all. Thank you so much for listening. This is Gina Joy Sayon, and we are the Group 6.